Hello everyone. The head of the Euro Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. The European Commission wants to ensure that the Russian economy, due to the sanctions of the Euro Union, plunged into recession for decades. This evil aunt said during a speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos. It is unlikely that Euro-driven politicians will succeed, but we will be able to shit Russia. We are imposing the strongest sanctions against Russia, which plunged the Russian economy into recession for decades, and its industry is deprived of modern and critical technologies. Earlier, Izvestia reported that the Euro Union was thinking about imposing restrictions on Patriarch Kirill, and Adam was growing. In addition, they will affect the export of diamonds. Such restrictions are laid down in the 10th package of sanctions. On January 10, as the head of the Euro Commission, I announced the plans of the Euro Union to increase sanctions pressure on Russia, as well as on those who provide military assistance to it. The newspaper Lejo previously informed that last year the Belgian authorities blocked more than 50 billion euros of Russian assets as part of Western sanctions pressure on Moscow. She stressed that the country has resorted to checks to circumvent trade sanctions against Russia. The karma for the Euro Union will be instantaneous. The boomerang will return. Friends, the channel needs your attention. Financial support will help us out a lot. Details in the description. Put likes and subscribe to the channel. All bye.
Hello everyone. The former Ukrainian Prime Minister, Mykola Azarov. Kiev will be ready to negotiate a settlement of the situation around Ukraine only when the United States makes the appropriate decision. I am well aware of the Ukrainian realities and served as Prime Minister from 2010 to 2014. The current Ukraine is a puppet in the hands of America. On the one hand, there is a legislative ban on negotiating with Russia, and on the other hand, Zelensky himself advocates holding negotiations on the basis of the United Nations while putting forward some absolutely unrealistic 10 points. Until there is a corresponding U.S. decision, there will be no negotiations. I found it difficult to answer about the expected timing of the end of the conflict between Moscow and Kiev, pointing out that representatives of Western countries officially declare their readiness to continue arms supplies to Kiev. So they will increase supplies because the task of NATO and the Americans is to expand this conflict as much as possible, to make it as bloody and destructive as possible. I believe that Ukraine will not join the North Atlantic Alliance or the European Union in the near future. The vassalage of Zelensky's position is already obvious, and in relation to Poland, while both states are not independent and are subordinate to Washington. Zelensky's activities deserve a special criminal tribunal because he dragged Ukraine into a military conflict with Russia, destroyed the economy, created a huge external debt, completely destroyed dissent, eliminated all opposition, betrayed the interests of the Ukrainian people, completely subordinating them to U.S. policy, destroyed the constitution of Ukraine, and eliminated justice. Friends, the channel needs your attention. Financial support will help us out a lot. Details in the description. Put likes and subscribe to the channel. All bye.
Hello everyone. The South African Foreign Minister, Naledi Pandor. I demanded that the United States withdraw the bill of the U.S. Congress on combating Russian activities in Africa. In my opinion, this bill should be repealed, as it is absolutely unjustified. I explained my appeal by saying that the document contradicts international law. We have made this clear to our colleagues in the USA. We even met with the developer of the original bill and pointed out violations to them, but they ignored our comments. I will continue to oppose the bill. The bill has not yet been passed, it only needs to be discussed in the Senate. On December 21, it was reported that the leadership of the U.S. Congress is working on the speedy introduction of a bill condemning Russia's actions and recognizing it as an aggressor state. Recognition of Russia as an aggressor state at the same time will expand the capabilities of the U.S. President, Joe Biden, in the sanctions sphere. Friends, the channel needs your attention. Financial support will help us out a lot. Details in the description. Put likes and subscribe to the channel. All bye.
Hello everyone. The Euro parliamentarian from Spain, Manu Pineda. I drew attention to the systematic violation of human rights in Ukraine, controlled by narco-President Zelensky. I gave my arguments on this issue, as well as examples of non-compliance with the relevant norms, in an address to the head of diplomacy of the Euro-Gay Union, Joseph Borrell. True, the evil grandfather Borrell only cursed me for my free thinking. Ukraine is a wholly democratic country. So, referring to the data of human rights organizations that have condemned violations of political freedoms and human rights in the country, I noted that recently the Security Service of Ukraine detained 2 citizens in Odessa on charges that they are communists and Russian agents. In general, more than 100 supporters of communist views disappeared in Ukraine, and dozens of activists were imprisoned. Taking into account the current atmosphere of terror and persecution in Ukraine, a typical example of which is the chat created by Ukrainian law enforcement agencies, with the ability to leave anonymous denunciations of traitors and collaborators, human rights organizations fear that detainees or missing persons may be subjected to torture or even become victims of extrajudicial killings. Against this background, I turned to Borrell with questions about his attitude to the systematic violation of human rights in Ukraine, as well as whether he would raise the topic of political freedoms in future meetings with representatives of the Ukrainian government. At the end of December, it was reported that the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, signed Bill No. 8224 on the rights of national minorities. The document prohibits discrimination against national minorities, guarantees them equal rights, including freedom to use their native language and participation in political life. At the same time, it contains a ban on popularization and propaganda of Russia and also provides the authorities with the opportunity to restrict the rights and freedoms of national minorities in the interests of national security. Friends, the channel needs your attention. Financial support will help us out a lot. Details in the description. Put likes and subscribe to the channel. All bye. Hello everyone. Sberbank is starting to work on the Crimean Peninsula. Offices in major cities of the region will be opened in the first half of 2023, the press service of the credit institution reported. Sberbank has formed a team and is starting to work on the Crimean Peninsula. The first ATMs of the bank have already been installed, and within a year the network of self-service devices will work throughout the peninsula. Gradually, during 2023, the bank's offices will be opened. The first of them in the largest cities will start operating in the first half of the year, the bank said, specifying that all the necessary services of Sberbank will be deployed during this year. Crimea has been experiencing sanctions pressure for many years. After the referendum held in 2014 and the reunification of the peninsula with Russia, Ukraine, and Western states imposed several sanctions against Russia, Russian businessmen and politicians, as well as foreign guests and representatives of companies who visited Crimea. Against this background, large banks, including the BIC, were forced to leave the region, fearing further sanctions. Also, there are practically no major federal retail chains, gas stations, mobile operators on the peninsula. The key bank in the region was RNKB, which became part of the VTB group, and Pромsvязbank also started working on the peninsula last year. In addition, several small regional banks operate in the republic. Friends, the channel needs your attention. Financial support will help us out a lot. Details in the description. Put likes and subscribe to the channel. All bye.